Stagecoach Mary, also known as her given name, Mary Fields. This segment comes directly from the Smithsonian National Postal Museum, standing 6 feet tall and powerful in the old American West. Stagecoach Mary Fields carried a gun, she smoked, drank, and had a wicked temper. Mary was the first African American woman to carry mail on a star route for the United States Postal Office Department. Her legend grows after her death. She was made a hero, a symbol of female Black empowerment. Welcome to Beyond Cocktails, a podcast where curiosity meets conversation, all while sipping on bourbon and whiskey. Join me as I delve into a wide range of topics, from exploring diverse cultures and education to uncovering the experiences of African American men and women. We'll dive into the world of women's sports, U.S. history, and more, all with a glass of fine spirits in hand. Beyond Cocktails, the perfect blend of knowledge and enjoyment. So, tune in and journey with me beyond the glass. All right. Welcome to Sip and Share. I'm your host, Tasha. This is the part of the show where I'll share the bourbon or whiskey that I'll be sipping on throughout the show. I'll give you some fun facts, some tasting notes, and a little history. And then I'll invite you, the listener, to share your own experience on social media. So let's see what's on deck. I actually am excited about this tasting. And this has been one of my favorites, newfound favorites, in 2023, 2024. I think it was this year that I got this. But this is Forbidden Single Barrel Bourbon. It's by Miriam Eves. I see if you can get that right there. Look at that bottle. Isn't that beautiful? Come on. I said I was going to get better at. There we go. I wanted to get better at showing you, just hitting the right away on the camera. I think that's a better picture. Just know that this is a wonderful bottle. There we go. This is a wonderful bottle. Look at that. It is a definite keepsake bottle also. It's just beautiful. It's one of those that, who knows what you can make out of it, but you definitely don't want to give it up. Actually, you can't see that. Maybe you can. Autograph from the distiller herself, to Tasha at the Bourbon Bliss. Cheers, Marianne Eves. Somebody smeared it. So this is why you can't let everybody touch your bottles. You got to pour for them yourself. This is a beautiful, smooth single barrel. It is coming in at 115 proof. And what's so unique about this is made of white corn, white wheat, and barley. From what I understand, I don't think the actual mash bill is presented. I think it's kind of a little top secret, but it is delicious. It's delicious on the nose. It's delicious on the taste. And I know I'm a little biased, so I'm going to give you a little bit more fun facts about this. Let me just get a sip right now, because the aroma is amazing. I actually get lots of sweetness, like a little toffee caramel, but more toffee, which gives me some buttery on the nose as well. And this is, for it to be 115 proof, and I pretty much had it capped open, it has oppressive floral fragrant type of aroma, which is weird. Now, here's my disclaimer. I'm going to drink this probably again, maybe in a few weeks or something, and I'm going to try it again. Georgia, we're having this rain, weather, wind, who knows what's in the air. And I got a little stuffy nose here, but that's what I'm getting tonight on the nose. Let me give it a taste. Wow. I just mentioned that floral, kind of expressive, I don't know, like a spray. I actually got that on my palate, and I'm actually getting, sounds crazy, I'm getting like the popcorn. Popcorn was the first thing that came to mind, and it's kind of forward on the front of my tongue, front of my palate. But it's now like the fiddle faddle. I'm a country girl. Fiddle faddle, I think, is what we had back home, and I'm getting that crunchy popcorn, but the little sweetness from the toffee. Like, I could probably eat some of that fiddle faddle and drink this as well, but this is delicious. Now, one of the fun facts about this that I love sharing, all things women, remember my other episode, the master distiller is Miriam Eves. Miriam actually started with Brown and Foreman, and then she became the master distiller at the old Taylor Distillery. If you've never been to Castle and Keys, you just got to go on that property and just take a tour and just enjoy the juice that's there. Look at this bottle. That's some creativity for you. So, cheers to Miriam Eves, all things women, great bourbon. This is a single barrel bourbon. It's called Forbidden and it's coming in at 115 proof. Cheers. This is awesome. Curiosity Corner. This is a segment where I dive deep into some burning topic, some question that is out there raging and catches my attention. And it just piques my curiosity. One of the topics that I wanted to circle back to had to do with the state of Georgia's House bill that was passed recently, I think a couple of years ago, 2022 ish. This House bill is titled the Divisive Concept. I guess we needed a bill to say we need to protect kids. I'm being a little sarcastic, but I want to read you the opening to the bill. Disclosure and disclaimer. My comments to this, my thoughts about it are solely my own. They are not mine. I don't represent my employer. I don't represent any organization. My comments and thoughts are simply mine. Just want to get that out there. And the conversation that caught my attention were two parents. They both had kids, and I don't know the age, but they made a comment about teachers can't teach about race in the schools. One was saying, what's the big deal? The other was saying, kids don't need to be exposed to it. To each his own. But it made me go and look up educators can't teach about race. And then this is what came up. I'm not going to read everything, but it's the House Bill 1084 1084 in the state of Georgia, enacted by the General Assembly of Georgia. This act shall be known and may be cited as Protect Students First Act. It basically says the term divisive means any of the following concepts. Letter A, one race is inherently superior to another race. It's saying that's a divisive concept. B, the United States of America is fundamentally racist. They're saying that's a divisive concept. C, an individual, by virtue of his or her race, is inherently or consciously racist or oppressive towards individuals of other races. They're saying that's a divisive concept. D, an individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of his or her race. That is a divisive concept, they say. And E, an individual's moral character is inherently determined by his or her race. They're saying that's a divisive concept. If you pull it up from the government, the General Assembly site, then it would be 16 pages. According to what the General Assembly of Georgia considers a divisive concept, the House bill, as it's proposed, would prohibit a school administrator, teacher, or other school personnel or individual facilitating a training program from responding to questions regarding specific divisive concepts raised by students, school community members, or participants in a training program. So, curiosity. The assembly needed to propose a bill about race. Honestly, I thought the Constitution did that already. And then I thought, like, the EEOC, when it came to discrimination in the workplace, took care of that, along with some other avenues. I just thought it was taken care of. You become a citizen and you understand that. But the state of Georgia apparently feels like they needed to create more of a specific descriptor of these concepts that divide us. And it's surrounded around race in this case, and particularly when it comes to schooling and education. I want to explore it a little deeper later. I want to get your thoughts and comments about this divisive concept. Please go and check it out. It's the House Bill 1084. The General Assembly of Georgia, it's up now. They passed this in 2022. So would love for everyone to go and at least view it and scan through it. What they're saying is that this bill should protect students. So this is what I'm curious about. This is proposed because it's supposed to protect students. This is my thoughts. Please hit like, hit subscribe, and leave me a comment. I need to know how you feel about this. If you don't have kids, you are an uncle or an aunt or a grandmother. Well, I guess you would have to have kids if you're a grandmother. Scratch all of that. But I need to hear your comments. So tell me what you think about this because it's beginning to create a little confusion in me, which is why I got to read it all. And on that idea, I would want to encourage you to go to the House bill in the state of Georgia, the General Assembly's House Bill 1084. Okay, I was reminded of the movie's called Claudine, and I'm sending some love and some thoughts to the family of James Earl Jones. He was a wonderful actor, and he had a role in this movie, Claudine. I wanted to be able to show you a clip from this movie, and I want you to take a look at it. I want you to, in the back of your mind, put these divisive concepts. I know that House bill was referencing students and education, but I remember being a kid and seeing this scene that we're about to watch and then overhearing conversations about welfare. Take a listen to what James Earl Jones says in this clip. So take a look.
Willing or unable to make a contribution equal to what it would cost him to maintain an independent living arrangement, he must apply for welfare. Do you understand? Otherwise, this would constitute a misuse of ADC funds.
Which is fraud.
Which is misappropriation.
Which is fraud.
Right, okay, now wait. Wait a minute. Now, if I marry this lady, I want to make things better. But if I spend $1 on it, you're going to deduct it from her, right? If I want to buy a little something extra, you're going to deduct it. And I better report every penny I spend, or else I'm a crook. Okay, now you say if I lose my job, I must apply for welfare because I can't just sit around eating the government's biscuit.
Which is fraud.
Because that's a fraud, right? Okay, now, if I do go into welfare, then I'm just another lazy-ass nigger that living off taxpayer. All right, now, suppose I do not marry this lady. Now, if I move in with her and do not tell you, then we both... I would ask that you hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I want to hear your thoughts behind this House bill that dictates to educators what they can and cannot present to students or even respond to students by way of conversations around race. I'm not quite sure how educators are going to teach history and definitely not US history without it, but they have this in there. So let me hear what you have to say about it. Write in, send me your comments. And until next time, cheers. All right, let's take a quick sip and check out some hot topics. So, this segment, I'm going to take a sip of something that's on my top shelf here. And I'm going to pull up a hot topic that is kind of floating around there. This is Hirsch's single barrel. So, because I'm an earthy type girl and I kind of like more of a woodsy, earthy type grounding, I'm going to go with Hirsch tonight. I mentioned earlier that I have a little allergy thingy going on here. And on a previous episode, I brought out the Doc Brown bourbon infused raw honey.
And I mentioned that because they have a beekeeper on their farm. This is Doc Brown Distillery. Their natural honey with that bee pollen really helps with my sinuses and chronic dry eye. So I actually had this on deck 4 days like this, where it's rainy and windy outside. I'm going to take a little bit of that Doc Brown and I'm going to add it to, I already got my little pour here. This is the Hirsch Single Barrel, and it is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is doubled oak. Something about that double oak kind of takes me back to my country days of being around the backyard and wood. And oh, I almost did it perfectly. Look at that. So this is Hirsch's Single Barrel. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon. It's about 8 years, an average about 8 years. The mash bill is about 2% corn, 13% to 18% rye, and 15% malted barley. This comes in at 127.6 proof. Wow. I didn't even look at the proof, to be honest with you. Love the color on this. This is coming from one of my favorite retailers. This is Sprayberry Bottle Shop store pick of this Hirsch single barrel. So I loved it when I bought it, and it's been on my shelf now for a little bit. So I wanted to pull it off, and I'm going to use it for our hot topics today. So on the nose, I get kind of light toasted caramel, kind of, you know? I feel like it's been cooked, but it's not burnt. It's almost like a candy apple sweet. Let me give it a sip. That's great. You guys can't see this. I wish you could. You see what we call legs or tannins, but it kind of depicts the oiliness of it. It's almost like someone's melted a clear colored crayon and they've just laid it all over this glass. So it's just kind of draining down like teardrops. Um, that's right up my alley. So with this, if you get a chance to, go out and find you a bottle of this single barrel Hirsch. This is their yellow label. They do have one that's a white label, if I'm not mistaken. I stand corrected. But hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let me hear your comments, your feedback. If you've actually tried any of these or you want to give them a shot, definitely give it a try. So let me put my honey in here. That was great on its own, and hoping I can clear up some of my nasalness. Again, the Doc Brown Farms and Distillery bourbon infused raw honey. Hot topic. So a friend of mine sent a image of a bourbon bottle to me, and she asked me, she said, have you tried this? And I looked at it and it was like Sir Davis, something of that sort. And really, I'd never heard of it, actually. So my initial thought that it was Hennessy and a cognac was released as a bourbon. I got to thinking about the celebrities. Why are celebrities getting into the whiskey game? When I thought about Beyonce, I thought, okay, financially, why would she be doing this? And then secondly, okay, maybe she's doing it because she wants to produce her own, something that appeals to her palate. So I kind of thought about The Rock, Kevin Hart, George Clooney, and just so many other one of the Kardashian girls, Shay Shay, and I thought, now why are they all jumping on the whiskey thing? It's got to be some money because they've been drinking whiskey and bourbon and liquors and forever. So it has to be something lucrative. And what I kind of realize is that yes, it is lucrative and it can be if you really have the money, don't literally produce their own from seed to bottle for some. So, they can pay for whiskeys and vodkas and spirits that are sitting in somebody else's warehouse, some marketing. They bring the same marketing that gets us to watch The Rock, I will tell you, is the muscles and this big burly guy who I would think would be like the next Rambo, who also can be funny. The George Clooney's that can, be sophisticated and kind of make you think of quality. So what they bring to the table is their marketing. And so what happens is you want to try their spirits because you're relating to them, to that marketing piece, that actor or actress or entertaining piece.
And it's the same thing that makes you want to watch one of their movies or go listen to Beyonce and watch her entertain. You think you're getting that in the bottle, and there's nothing wrong with that because there's no right or wrong way to drink your spirit the way you want to drink it. So if in fact you are thinking this bottle, Sir Davis, I can't stand corrected, and I apologize if I'm screwing up the name. If you think that that bottle brings about a sense of sophistication and elegance and quality, then you're going to enjoy it. Who knows, how it tastes, but what you bring to an element of sipping, the space that you're in, the consciousness that you're in, and what it allows you to think about. That's to me what makes a great spirit. Now, you want some quality, you want some of those impurities to be cleared away from it. So you want them to, think about what they're paying for and put it in the bottle. But listen, there ain't that many more big mass producers who are just popping up. Beyonce didn't pop up and gonna be sitting there waiting 6, 7, 8 years, 3 or 4 for that matter, on some whiskey to get primed inside a barrel. I don't think so. She can do a lot of stuff and she can pay for a lot of things, but she can't pay for no fast aging like that and a quality whiskey, not on her own. Again, there are some techniques where they're speeding up the aging or maturation process of whiskey in a barrel. And I've tried a couple, but Beyonce is not sitting there doing that. She's like, give me the goods that are great and it's ready to go. I got the marketing. So to Beyonce, George Clooney, The Rock, all of them who are out there saying, let me try to put my influence on another product, I say cheers. And to that, hot topics. I got to tell you this. I placed that bourbon honey in the Hirsch because it was a higher proof. At least I still get some of the wood, the earthiness, the deep tones of it. And I did. I don't know if this is a compliment just to Hirsch for the quality of that double oak, or this is a compliment to Doc Brown Farm and Distillery for that bourbon infused raw honey. But I felt like I just got both of them. You remember the peanut butter cup commercial where the peanut butter and the chocolate go and then they create this new magical thing? That's what I just got. I just got the most wonderful toddy. I didn't lose this bourbon taste. I didn't lose any of those notes. It's almost like they just kind of married together. And I'm going to probably do that again before tonight's over, just so that I can make sure that this, whatever this is, the allergy thing, is all dispelled. So, again, quick sip hot topics. Cheers. Welcome to History in a Glass. Let's journey through U.S. history. Okay, so this part of the show is homage to all things U.S. history with a little bourbon and whiskey influence in it. So, I wanted to talk to you and bring to you the story of Stagecoach Mary, also known as her given name, Mary Fields. This segment comes directly from the Smithsonian National Postal Museum, standing 6 feet tall and powerful in the old American West. Stagecoach Mary Fields carried a gun, she smoked, drank, and had a wicked temper. Mary was the first African American woman to carry mail on a star route for the United States Postal Office Department. She was born into slavery in either 1832 or 1833. Her exact birthday is unknown. What is known is that Mary was emancipated in 1863 or shortly after the Civil War. She then moved from West Virginia and went up to Mississippi River, where she worked on steamboats. She ended up in Ohio, specifically Toledo, and there she began working at a convent. What is known is that Mary's gruff style was not something that fit into the serene calm that was the Covenant. During her time at the Covenant, she washed laundry, bought supplies, managed the kitchen, and grew and maintained a garden
the garden and the grounds. Mary was known to lose her temper and was quick to yell anyone who stepped on the grass after she had cut it. Okay, I get that. When she arrived in the West, Mary got to work. She mainly worked for St. Peter's Mission and in Montana, where she did many of the jobs she had done before in Toledo. Mary performed maintenance and repair work. She also gardened and did laundry. One major thing that Mary was also in charge of was locating and delivering of supplies needed for the mission. Mary had no official contract with the mission and the nuns. She was free to come and go as she pleased, taking additional work outside the mission. She was dismissed from the mission due in part to her crass behavior, unruly temper, and penchant for drinking and smoking in saloons with men. The final straw appears to involve an argument in which Mary and another mission janitor, a male, got into a fight and were agitated to the point that both drew guns. This incident, while neither fired their guns, was enough to make the bishop of the area demand for nuns to relieve her of her duties. In 1895, Mary obtained a contract by the United States Post Office Department to be a star route carrier. A star route carrier was an independent contractor who used a stagecoach to deliver in the harsh weather of northern Montana. Mary was the first African American woman and the second woman to receive a star route contract from the United States Post Office. This contract was secured with the help of the nuns, and the nuns wished to look out for Mary as they felt connected to her. This was because they did not wish to see her go, as the nuns heavily relied on Mary for work done around the mission. Mary built a reputation of being fearless while working as a mail carrier. Mary's jobs were not only to deliver the mail, but to also protect the mail from bandits, thieves, wolves, and the weather as well. Mary was also known for her guns she carried. During the time that Mary was delivering the mail, she was known to carry both a rifle and a revolver. She spent 8 years delivering the mail as a star route carrier, and during this time, Mary became beloved by the locals of the Montana area for her fearlessness and her generosity, as well as her kindness to children. After her retirement, she settled into life in Cascade, Montana. And upon retiring, Mary started a laundry business in town. She also opened an eatery as well as babysat the local children. She remained famous, even becoming the mascot for the town's baseball team. Mary was beloved by the people of Cascade, Montana, so much so that she drank in saloons for free and ate for free at local restaurants and hotels. Mary died on December 5th, 1914. After her death, the townspeople raised money to have her buried in a cemetery on a road she drove frequently to the mission. Mary's funeral was said to be one of the largest in town. Her legend grows after her death. She was made a hero, a symbol of female Black empowerment. Mary drank and wore men's clothing at times. She smoked and carried guns. Yet in death, she has become this powerhouse woman. Mary had the ability to become the first African American woman star route carrier during a time when the West was a predominantly white society, which says something to Mary's relentlessness and character and larger than life personality. I want to give a toast to Stagecoach Mary. Here's to your fearlessness. All right, all right. Welcome to Beyond the Bottle. This is our question and answer session where listeners submit their questions about anything, ranging from bourbon and whiskey inquiries to culture, the state of education, anything. And we go about assisting you in exploring those curiosities. So, I had a listener that submitted a question. I mentioned that I do have an educational background. And the question was, what do we know and what do we understand about the learning loss during the COVID-19 pandemic? Meaning our students had some loss in their learning during those periods of time. The pandemic, we know, caused a disruption in education. It didn't stop it, but it caused some type of pause, and educators had to reframe and restructure how they instructed students. We all know this. And digital online teaching and learning became a worldly thing. And they just had a concern about their students' learning loss during that time. There was still this concern that
that her child had regressed in this COVID pandemic. And I'm not the be all or end all to instructional practices of various states and school districts. I don't speak for anyone or any state, including my own, nor my employer. But my thoughts by that is, if I just think in a rational sense, at this moment, because I'm separating what I do understand about the educational instructional process from just me being an auntie with nieces and nephews who are still school age. When I look at the pandemic, we were all in the same space. If we all paused in 2020, wherever you were at that moment, whatever information, whatever knowledge you had as a student, a grade school student, an adult, that's what you carried into March 16th of 2020, which is when we were sent home. Well, at least on Georgia, we were all sent home. So you have to look at where your child was on March 13th, the Friday before 2020. What knowledge, what academic ability did he or she have then? There should have been no regression. Wherever they ended up on March 13th, Friday, March 13th of 2020, with the knowledge base that they had, that's what they had. Now, let's fast forward. We spent almost 36 months in a pandemic. Once I know something, I can't unknow it. I can learn more about the thing that I know, or learn something different about the thing that I know, but I can't unknow it. So wherever your child was prior to the pandemic, prior to us going online, we want to look at that place. And what you want to be able to do is go back and see, did my child have the age appropriate ability to understand the academics at the level that he or she was before the pandemic? And if he or she did, no problem. We can say the 3 years after or during the pandemic, they're based on that pace prior to the pandemic, they may not have been, as progressive, but they did progress. That's all we're interested in. We all had to deal with so many things. So progression as a variable went out the water, in my opinion. But when I look at what happened and where my friends' kids and my nieces and nephews were before March 16th, Monday, March 16th of the pandemic, I have to be honest and say there was some lack compared to other areas of this country, and definitely other countries. Why was there lack? Now, for me, I looked at that there was a space and time where educators were given a template, and you can do your own research if you're inclined to. Educators were given a template to use. We were no longer given the experience or the opportunity to inquire about our individual learners. So when that template came about, we just had to be scripted, I don't know, voiceover actors. And that's what happened in America. Again, these are my own thoughts, my own opinions. I do not represent, these comments do not represent my employer, any organization thereof. But when educators were given a script to use in order to instruct their students, those scripts were so automatic that we didn't spend time teaching kids and figuring out what they needed and emotionally taking care of them and encouraging them. We didn't have time to do that. And that was not a voluntary thing. That was an involuntary thing. That whole premise that many of the voters voted for, that No Child Left Behind, that experience, it did more harm than help, because it
shackled most of the educators around this country, shackled you, and it put you on a pace to learn how to be a voiceover actor and read a script as quick as you can and get kids to watch the show, not participate in the show, not actually contribute to the show. And I mean the curriculum, asking questions, inquiring. They just watch the show. So here we come, we're interrupted, and we're in March 13th of 2020, and we're all told, don't come back on Monday, shut it down. So many of the leaders in our government, federal government, want you to not pay attention to that. So what you're experiencing and what you're seeing is like arrested development. That's the term. There's a movie actually called Arrested Development. But it's like being arrested, you're developing and just being at a pause. And I believe that's what happened. And I don't believe COVID is a purveyor of what happened with the regression. I don't believe the regression ever existed. I believe our students were performing where they were prior to COVID. And where they were performing was based on rote learning and scripted learning. So, no, rote memory and scripted memory. So if your child was distracted by anything else, needing to make sure mommy was home and daddy was home safe, needing to make sure grandmama was feeling okay, make sure she wasn't hurt or sick, making sure the dog was well, blah, blah, blah. My tummy hurts, my head hurts, whatever was going on in your child's life, in addition to being a movie goer in the middle of his or her classroom, just listening to the teacher read a script and sometimes write what the teacher tells them to write, then your child's development was arrested and learning was arrested years, decades before there was a pandemic. All right. So let me hear what you think about our conversation beyond the bottle, and hit like, hit subscribe, send me your comments. That's what's going to explode this podcast. And even when I have my guests coming on, which you're going to be excited to hear my dialogue with some of my guests, but a lot of that's going to be driven by your comments to me in my post or in my social media. Let me hear what you're thinking about. So until then, let me have just a little pour of Miss Forbidden. And I'm going to wish you all a very, very, very happy good time. Cheers.
To our listeners, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on the lessons you've learned and to share your own experiences with those around you. And until next time, this is Tasha, wishing you good pours and even better conversations. Cheers.